You used
No, I was, yeah, we had very close relations. We had sitting political discussions, ideological discussions
with my
during the
father.
formation of People's Party. I was there in
Okay.
67, 68 anti-AU movement. We started from Pindi.
Okay. So you go way back.
That is a little bit of history of mine.
So my father was in his prime at that time, I think.
Bilkul, and he left at a very prime time on a very prime note.
ठीक है
that was a very prime note of his while in the process of constitution.
Dulab Saab is also there.
I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Dulab Saab, A.S. Dulab Saab.
How are you, Dulab Saab?
Oh. How are you, sir?
Well, I am fine.
Ajuria Saab, I can see now.
Yeah.
Sir Gupta.
So you look better than the
Tamil, Salim Engineer, Vimal.
Mera Begum Saab ko bhi salam kahiyega.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
We enjoyed our meetings in Bangkok.
Absolutely.
Mr. Subramaniam has also come and joined. Now, I think it's time that we can begin the meeting. Good afternoon, friends. A meeting after many months, almost a year, that Indo-Pak Relations Seminar has been organized through our forum. The last time we had Kasuri Saab also, and after we had one more meeting in which we missed Kasuri Saab. So we know the relations are far from comfortable. We can't say normal. So today is the day that let us share our thoughts and find out how can we improve the relations between the two countries. We don't have even high commissioner in each other's country. Not many people are able to visit each other physically in our own countries. Mr. Kasuri, former Foreign Minister of Pakistan, has tremendous work in improving Indo-Pak relation. I hope he would throw light on some of the aspects which can be considered by all of us. And let's treat it as a brainstorming session for improving Indo-Pak relations. May I now request Mr. Kasuri to initiate the discussion and be followed by Mr. Dulat from India. Kasuri sir.
Thank you very much. And my regards to all the participants from India and Pakistan. I would like to thank Mr. O.P. Shah, Chairman of the Center for Peace and Progress, for organizing this webinar. And he has been indefatigable in his efforts to bring the two countries together. And I would like to compliment him for that. And this requires a lot of optimism, as I do, and I'm sure he does, to deal with Pakistan-India relations. But we should never give up. Now, I think I'll start by saying one thing, that I had interest in improving our relations much before I assumed the office of Foreign Minister of Pakistan. And but before I begin, I'd like to start this by paying my respects to Ambassador S.K. Lamba, who for the role that he played in trying to bring our countries together and for the work regarding the 4-point formula. When I read his book, I was quite amazed, not amazed, I was pleasantly surprised. I shouldn't even say surprised, because both of us were trying to record events and neither of us could really deviate from the truth. And so there's hardly any difference in details, at least on the 4-point issue. On the other aspects of Pakistan-India relations, quite naturally, he is an Indian and I'm a Pakistani, and we have different ways of looking at things. But both of us share one thing in common, and that is that both of us felt that the respective interests of our countries were served in improving relations between them. So, as far as Mr. Lamba is concerned, I would like to say one thing, that whatever he said on the 4-point formula, you don't have to take my words for it, because I think there's very little difference, which I'd said even earlier, that this was the way out. Suhasini Haider, one of India's leading journalists and commentators, as in the Hindu of 23rd of April 2023, said as much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So Suhasini Haider said as much, that there's no difference. In fact, he says what he said. I'd said it earlier in my book. So I think his book is very timely, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people used to ask me whether 4 points has outlived its utility and whether it's outdated. So I'm grateful to him for pointing out that Prime Minister Modi asked him to continue from the same text, the 4-point formula. And in fact, this was as late as 2017. Mr. Lamba died in 2023, and he was quite well connected, as Mr. Dullat is, into the Indian establishment. So when he says, or when Mr. Dullat says something, one has to assume that they speak with knowledge. And since he died in 2023, in his last chapter, he says exactly what I've said, that, this is the way forward. Neither he nor I say that it's gospel and you must follow it letter and spirit. But the fact that Prime Minister Modi asked him, and that in 2023, that is 6 years after Prime Minister Modi asked him, and despite what happened in 2019, unilaterally by Prime Minister Modi, he still continued to believe that it provided a base for moving forward. So I am grateful to him. But I must say one thing, because efforts have been made to tell us, and in webinars attended by some Indians, they say, ground reality has changed, Kashmir is normalizing, Pakistan must forget what Prime Minister Modi did unilaterally, Kashmiris must forget, and the international community must forget. With great respect, I don't see why anyone should accept a unilateral decision, least of all the Kashmiris. And in fact, if the Kashmiris had accepted, then probably most of the argument in favor of whatever Pakistan says would have disappeared. But don't take my word for it. Anuradha Bhasin, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, in her book published in December 2022, gives heart-rending details. It says, a dismantled state, the untold story of Kashmir after Article 370. Now, I'm saying this because I've been repeatedly told by some Indian interlocutors that, ground realities change and Kashmir is normalizing. So the book has 12 chapters. Each one of them is really heartrending. One title is A Prison with Echoes of Fear, Tyranny as a Variable Constant, Speak Not, for Your Lips Are Sealed. So I don't see why we should accept the fact that Kashmir is normalizing, even if a lot of people say that. At least the Kashmiris don't think that. And you recently saw, in connection with the G20, the government of India organized a meeting regarding tourism on the sidelines, and it was sorry. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Please continue.
Hello? Hello? Sorry, I didn't understand. Somebody saying something?
No. Please continue.
I would like to answer afterwards whoever raised an issue. I would like to answer, and I'd be very happy, in fact, to answer. So, and it's not just the fact large number of big countries did not attend, important countries, and even the Americans who now think it is, I have a certain reason for saying what I'm saying, because to help the peace process, we should not live under delusions and think that everybody in the world should think like us. So even President Obama had comments recently. So what I'm saying is that for those in Pakistan and India who wish relations to improve, they have a harder task now, because previously it is the United States used to make efforts for its own reasons to normalize relations between Pakistan and India. Now, with the United States-China rivalry increasing and India getting closer to America and Pakistan to China, therefore there is a fear that the situation may get out of hand unless people of goodwill on both sides take realistic decisions based on at least the bare minimum that Mr. Lamba has stated in his book regarding the 4 points. You see the polarizing policies of the BJP, in which there's a lot of premium on bashing Indian Muslims and Pakistan because they play electoral dividends, have created a major problem. So when we talk of Pakistan-India peace, we always talk of environment. The environment today is much more difficult than it was in my time when I was foreign minister. I am, however, aware that Prime Minister Modi, in the ultimate analysis, is a politician, and I hope that, you know, at some stage, he will realize that it's in India's own interest to adopt at least partially a different course. And if the situation has become so bad that unless we improve our relations, our current generation, the younger generation in both countries, which is fed on media and social media, will probably think the worst of us. And if they'll even, in some cases, be worse than the current generation. The situation is so bad that whenever one country has a problem, as we did with the IMF and the World Bank, there was a feeling Schadenfreude. I was seeing Indian media, people were thrilled. It was a great thing. These things happen and they pass. India and Pakistan are big countries. There was a time when India was making the headline, the front cover of all the world magazines, including The Economist during the coronavirus. But I never thought that it would going to cripple India. Neither India nor Pakistan will be crippled, and it is best to recognize that reality, and we should therefore be realistic. And if we assume, and most of us who are here feel, otherwise we would not be here, that it's in our interest to improve relations with two countries. So Mr. Lamba, what is the way forward? Mr. Lamba rightly says, and the first thing he says is, and with your permission, I won't even read the 4 paragraphs, but so he talks of essential need for dialogue. Essential need for dialogue, and he says that, for example, he refers in that connection to 3 or 4 issues. One is about between United States and China. Then he speaks of in the United States, Russia. Then I am reminded of what happened when the Americans and Americans and the Vietnamese were destroying each other. And why says that there's no talk? A large number of people say there's no need to talk in both Pakistan and India. The situation has been so polluted that they say, why should we talk? Now, without talk, without dialogue, there is no way out. We may not agree with each other, but there is no way out. So you see, when Lamba talks of these things, he continues to say, after giving various examples, that there appeared to be an intent to continue the back channel process, yet this is on the other subject I was talking.
Kasuri Sahab, kindly conclude.
Kindly conclude. So I'll say war is not an option. And as a recent war in the past, I used to give references of various books which have been published, that war is not an option in Pakistan and India. The lessons of the Ukraine war prove one thing, that you can start a war, you don't know how it will end, how long it will last. And in fact, Ukraine and the wars between Pakistan and India fought in Punjab, the territory is very similar. Many Indians have commented, and they've also said, and I'm quoting Manvinder Singh, who heads an Indian think tank on defense, and he says that, you know, no wonder why Pakistan and India have made no progress on the battlefields of Punjab. So even a power like Russia is now finding it very difficult to handle Ukraine. So let's not assume a posture which could lead to further worsening of relations when there is a way out. And the way out is not maximalist. The way out is that was suggested by Lamba and by me, and that is it takes into account the aspirations of the people of Kashmir, as well as what is acceptable to the government and people of Pakistan and India. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kasuri Saab. May I request Mr. Dulat to offer his comments in 5 minutes, and then Nizamuddin Bhatt from Srinagar.
Yes, Hamid.
Dulat Saab.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shah Saab.
I am currently on Zoom listening to a seminar on India-Pakistan relations. I thought you said...
Yeah. Please continue. Dulat Saab.
Thank you, Shah Saab, for organizing this webinar. And
what's the problem?
Too many people talking.
Dulat Saab, can't hear you.
So there are too many people talking. Anyway, thank you very much, Kasuri Saab, for your words of wisdom. And I agree with you entirely that war is never an option. And I think we should stop fault finding also. And you mentioned Ambassador Sati Lamba's book. We have, all of us, I think, here have the highest regard for him. And I agree with him, and I agree with what Kasuri Saab says, that we must never stop talking, and dialogue is the only way forward. But I wanted to remind Kasuri Saab of what I said on the 9th of May when we were together in Bangkok, that things are not good. They don't look good. But I think since both of us are optimists, I think things can improve, things should improve. And there are signs from time to time that things will improve. I think I had hinted to him or suggested to him at that point of time that as long as there's a strong, stable, and prosperous Pakistan, I think there are better chances of us moving forward. But if Pakistan itself continues to remain in a mess, then I don't know what will happen and where we will go. I had said to Kasuri Saab, I said my own belief is that before the end of the year, India and Pakistan should be talking to each other, and I think we should be moving forward. Of course, these are views of an optimist. As regards Kashmir, which Kasuri Saab took up, I won't say that Kashmir is absolutely normal, but I think we're heading towards normalcy. And as far as Article 370 goes, it's done and dusted, except that it has now come up and it is being taken up. The Supreme Court is taking it up. I think the hearings will begin on the 11th of July. And, you know, as court hearings go, I guess it will take 4 or 5 months at least. So we will be into the beginning of next year. But before that...
we missed part of your speech. I don't know, because you were saying that when we were in Bangkok, you had predicted with great confidence, actually, that the relationship will improve. I was thrilled to hear you.
I'm still maintaining that confidence, sir.
Okay, but after that, I couldn't hear your voice.
Yeah.
What I was saying was, as long as we have a strong, stable, and prosperous Pakistan, and not Pakistan, which was headed towards a mess on the 9th of May, if you recall. Now, the other thing is that I see positive signs. Just today, I saw a statement of the Pakistan cricket captain saying that, the World Cup is coming up in India, the Cricket World Cup in October. And earlier we were told that Pakistan would play here and not play there, and selective noises being made. But now I was glad to hear him say that Pakistan was prepared to play anywhere. So I think this is a forward movement. We heard Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also in the SCO meeting saying positive things, speaking against terrorism. I would request Kasuri Saab, I'm all for that 4-point or 1.5-point formula. But I think let's keep it aside just for the time being. And
I was going to say that, but Mr. He asked
Kasuri Saab, it would be nice if you speak at the end, because a lot of people will be making comments.
Sir, I have an obsession with Kashmir, but I would say for India and Pakistan to move forward, just for the time being, let's keep Kashmir apart. I think this is something that even Prime Minister Imran Khan had sort of agreed to. And that's why the Army Chief General Bajwa had said that we were moving forward till there was political obstruction. Now, at this point of time, I don't think there will be any obstruction from Pakistan. And we should move forward logically. But as I said, let's stop fault finding and let's look at things positively. And I just saw my Guru Manishankar Iyer, so I will wait for his better wisdom. But as I said, I see positivity and I'm an optimist. And Kasuri Saab, before the end of the year, I reiterate that I feel we should move forward. Thank you, Shahzab.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nijamuddin Bhatt, he will be followed by Aarti Tikku and then Dr. Iftikhar Ahmed from Pakistan. Nijamuddin Bhatt Saab. I saw him. No, he was there.
Sir, Shah Saab, but Saab's audio is not working. His video is okay, but his audio is not there. He will have to probably... Now he's there.
Acha.
He's there now, he's there.
Please, 4 or 5 minutes.
Hello?
Yes, please.
Is it audible? Am I audible?
Yes, it is. It is.
Haji Bhatt Saab, boliye.
I have not been, unfortunately, able to listen to all the guests. In fact, none of them. But I will go on my own now without getting the input. That would help. Indo-Pak relations, while important, will be important. But given the present circumstances, I think the whole issue has gone in the back burner because of the circumstances prevailing in Pakistan itself, and also the attitudes of two countries earlier. The relations have seen ups and downs ever since the partition. We were expecting shared civilization will have its people together, even if there are boundaries. but there will be no walls. They have gone to wars. They have gone to confrontations. They have never seen, in fact, any kind of bonhomie. In fact, there were certain spells where we would hope that two countries will live together, will let each other live together. But unfortunately, it has not happened so far, and ultimate victims are the people of both countries, more particularly those who live on borders, and we, the people of Jammu and Kashmir. We have been victims of the hostility of India and Pakistan. The economy of both countries has suffered. The diplomacy of both countries has seen in various countries in Europe, in Islamic world, at many times, some kind of hostility towards them, which even not only stalled their economic growth, but also the two countries which would rise in stature, particularly India, which had a greater role at global level, is claiming this time as a greater role because of its stable economy, because of its stable state of affairs in the country. But until and unless the things improve in Pakistan itself, where we have a government which can take decisions, where we have a government which will have public support for whatever they do, where we have a government which can either allure or coexist without alluring with India on issues which hinge on the what I see as shared civilization. They were a one home, divided, and ever since they were divided, they never settled down to two neighborly countries. I wish that two countries see some kind of stability at their domestic levels to take decisions where they could come together. These things have changed. Global perceptions have changed, not because of economy only, but because of changing ideologies and growth in awareness of various peoples around the globe. There is larger participation now in every issue. No government can ever afford to ignore its own people, their perceptions. We had seen times where in bigger democracies also, or in autocracies, or in the countries of kings, we had seen that people were not that much participative, not that much concerned about their own issues, not to talk of global or mutual issues of various neighboring countries. Now when the things have changed, people are 100% aware about what is happening around globe, how will a state progress, what kind of relations they will have to, how will the diplomacy work, and how does the politics, local politics, help or create some kind of a friction. All this knowledge and information with the people and their will to see first their nations grow and then others also growing together. This is will of the people throughout world. You see how Islamic world has changed. You see what are the voices being heard in United States itself. You see how war is being abhorred between Russia and their neighboring countries. People are concerned, but until and unless the elected government shows some kind of concern for people's issues and they let their own countries allow to live together and resolve issues on basis of negotiations, I don't see things can change. In India and Pakistan, there is a larger difficulty. The difficulty that issues, though, have been neutralized to the maximum, but those remain. There is simmering discontent among people. There is a desire that two countries live together. There is a desire that Pakistan grows stable, and there is a desire that India, while playing a greater role at global level, is able to take its neighbors along despite what has happened in past. Future for any country lies in stability and peace. I wish that Pakistan gets stable. There is a government which will co-opt with India. I wish that Indian government also does have kind of a shift from intransigence and go back to shared civilization and let the neighboring countries go together, resolve their issues mutually, and have kind of a cordial relation so that we, the victims, can at least see a spell of peace.
Please offer your comment. She's an eminent journalist based in Delhi, but Kashmiri Pandit otherwise. And Mr. Nijamuddin Bhatt was a member of the JK Assembly and very eminent journalist and writer. Aarti Tukku, next 4 or 5 minutes are yours.
Well, thank you, Shah Saab, for inviting me once again to your very eminent, I would say, gathering of Indo-Pakistan voices. I really appreciate that you've been taking these persistent efforts to bring people together in New Delhi and Kashmir. You're also trying very hard for the last several years or probably decades to bring Indians and Pakistanis closer. Now, having said that, I must come straight to the topic. With due respect, and I heard, I think, 3 significant voices on India, Pakistan, and Kashmir. And I somehow feel that all this conversation, this dialogue that's happening at your platform today, it's almost anachronistic. It feels like we are talking in a different decade, in a different era, and there is no connection with reality today. There is no connection with what the situation is in Kashmir today. And it seems like there is almost a time warp kind of a mentality, kind of ideological frigidity, which is reflecting in the 3 voices that we heard just now. And I don't blame anybody. I don't blame the voices that have come with respect to Kashmir today on your platform, because they belong to a certain generation, they belong to a certain era, and they belong to a certain mindset where, once upon a time we were made to believe that India and Pakistan are the 2 key players or the 2 important stakeholders on Kashmir. And I think given how the reality has evolved in the last 3 decades, especially, I would say, since 2019, August 5th, I think Pakistan no longer is actually a stakeholder on Kashmir. Pakistan was, unfortunately, I would say, by Indian policymakers, by Indian political leadership in the last several decades, who considered Pakistan to be a stakeholder and was involving and was actually giving into the blackmail of Pakistan's cross-border terrorism in Kashmir, and continuously coming to table, continuously trying to have a dialogue with Pakistan. This, often repeated and overhyped 4-point formula, which was, I think, again, a product of the whole misconception that Indian policymakers and Pakistani policymakers sat down and even drafted a 4-point formula, which was neither, neither involved people of Jammu and Kashmir, nor was really embedded in any legal, moral, or any social reality. Now, why am I saying this? Because to begin with. Pakistan today, I mean, what is its locus standi to even think that it is a partner or it is a stakeholder in Kashmir? It has shown, it has proven to the world that it has been an epicenter of cross-border terrorism in the last 3 decades or more. It has also shown to the world that its Kashmir obsession, its obsession with jihad, its obsession with using Islam, or rather to say, misusing Islam to mobilize people and push them towards their death knell, and they have shown that they really do not have any view, they do not have any solid ground on the issue of Kashmir, because they have, in the last 40 years or more, starting with Khalistan in Punjab, then cross-border terrorism in Kashmir, they have missed every single opportunity which our policymakers foolishly provided to Pakistani policymakers on the issue of Kashmir, whereas the question was settled by Maharaja Hari Singh in 1947 itself. Pakistan has no legal locus standi on Kashmir. Now, second, our policymakers were, for reasons best known to them, for perhaps not being educated enough, for perhaps not being aware enough about the legalities or the historical, the cultural linkages between ancient Kashmir, medieval Kashmir, and modern Kashmir with the rest of India. Now, since 2019, August 5th, the situation is actually demonstrating the point that I'm making. The point is that Kashmir has rejected Pakistan, that Kashmiris have rejected Pakistan. And I'm not saying just Kashmiri Pandits, just because I'm Kashmiri Pandit, just because I was subjected to ethnic cleansing, and there was a complete, I would say, complacency by even the government of India over this. Pakistan cross-border terror subjected us to ethnic cleansing and wiped us out from our own land, territory, and wiped out our own ethnicity in Kashmir. I am talking about the fact that in the last 3-4 years, ever since Article 370 has been nullified, we do not see any Kashmiri Muslims coming to the streets and pelting stones. We don't see Kashmiri Muslims taking up arms. We don't see Kashmiri Muslims gathering in hordes on the streets asking for Pakistan. We don't see anyone raising Pakistani flags in Kashmir. So where is the locus standi of Pakistan to have even a chair on the table? I don't understand.
Please conclude.
Second, so last point basically I want to say is that Kashmiri Muslims have demonstrated that by and large, Pakistan may still have its assets, Pakistan may still have its rabble-rousers who are funded through various means. They may still have some of them in Kashmir, but by and large, the Kashmiri Muslim population in Kashmir has demonstrated that they do not stand with Pakistan. They may have issues with New Delhi, which may have their own solutions, through a democratic process, through a proper legal legislative process, but they do not stand with Pakistan. So I don't understand why we are talking to Pakistan, and where is the incentive for India, a massive economy today, the 5th largest economy today, be talking to Pakistani policymakers who have destroyed Pakistan, destroyed the lives of poor people in Pakistan. I mean, today they don't even have enough food, and they have the gall to say that they want to discuss Kashmir with us. I think I will end on that note. I think there is no incentive for India to be talking to Pakistan.
Thank you. Ms. Dr. Iftikhar Ahmed from Pakistan. Please offer your comment. Mr. Manishankar Iyer was here. Is he around? Manishankar ji.
May I start?
Dr. Iftikhar Ahmed, please.
Thank you.
5 minutes are yours.
For giving me the opportunity, and it is really a good way to talk. I have listened to my colleagues and big names, wise people, and there are quite a few other coming up. I will not focus on the history like my respected RT has done, because there are the arguments on the other side. I don't want to go into that. I want to look at it from a different angle, India and Pakistan. One question we have to ask, it is 75 years. I will give an example. In Balkan, in 90s, Yugoslavia, civil war, hundreds of thousands of people were killed. It divided into 6 ways, independent countries. Now you go in one country, you travel through all the way, and they're living together. If they're independent identities, they have trying to resolve through the talk. What is it that in subcontinent, it is such a rich culture, such a rich history. It is very easy really that we put the finger pointing at each other. And we have been pointing those fingers for last 75 years. Is there any psychological barriers? Because as far as I know, there have been many times when both these nations, the policymakers, came very close to resolving the issue, even to the point, and then there will always be a spoiler. There is always someone who throws a spanner in the works. So we have to change our approach and try to find out exactly is in the modern world, if in 2023, we can continue the old mantras of the same old thing. It is like when we attend the seminars like this, it is like Groundhog's Day. Pakistan is weak, India is strong. India is weak, Pakistan is strong. Democracy, these are 2 identities. What is it which is stopping us from this? And my request will be, I think we need to, and there are very wise people sitting here, sometimes we need to take a step back and think, what is it which is always stopping, whether it is a 4.5 formula or whether it's 2, or whichever formula it is, why we are going round and round while the world is going up. I can understand Ms. Tiko's points. It comes from the point where India at the moment, I do not see any change, because India being 4th or 5th economy, being courted by the superpowers, moving on with the technologies, Pakistan struggling with that. I do not see any moving forward until or unless there is some wisdom, some cool-headedness come down, and some psychological problems at the level of our policymakers. Why is it, I will raise this issue, while we all of us on the back channel, on these forums we talk, but both the countries every evening on Wagah border set a show to compete who can raise their legs high and stamp on the floor as forcefully as possible. Why we do that? So I'm just asking a question, taking out of the box what we are talking about Kashmir, what we are talking about others. Subcontinent is a big history, is a history of wisdom. Why we can't take a step back and think? We are fighting like cousins. Is this partition, the wound is so deep. The wound is so deep that we have not accepted at some level. And if one party wants to accept, the other kicks in. And I remember Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee visiting Pakistan in 1998 and accepting. And then somebody from Pakistan kicked in. And then when Pakistan starts, somebody from India kicks in. There will always be spoilers. I will stop here and will request to take a step back and really think about why. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brigadier Mukherjee from Kolkata.
Am I audible, Shah Sahab?
Yes, you are audible.
A very good evening to all panelists. We've had this dialogue before on O.P. Shah's show earlier. I am a soldier, retired, good about 23 years back. I've had nearly 8 to 10 years of service in J&K, especially during the peak of militancy, as we call it, that phase. And I've been an observer of the Indo-Pak relations as it has evolved over the years. I'm one of those midnight's children and have followed the path that both nations have taken till date. Let me start by giving you my observations as a layman, because many of you who are sitting here on this panel are experts who have been very, should I say, at the highest level, shaping policies on both sides of the border. But let me just air my thoughts. Firstly, there is a sense presently in India that Pakistan is imploding, which is absolutely wrong. I hope better sense prevails. Although the channels across the TV channels, they would have you believe otherwise. But there are no signs that Pakistan is imploding by any means. After all, it's a nuclear nation. It has a strong professional army. Apart from that, there is no starvation deaths that is happening in Pakistan. There are no people on the streets indulging in civil war. They are basically at this juncture going through an economic spasm. They are tightening their belts. Many of their better economists are getting them to come on the path what the International Monetary Fund and other agencies are telling them to do, which they know they have to do. So this tightening of belt is being done. People are accepting it for whatever past that has been done. There is a bit of a political instability which will also be taken care of. There are professional people there and senior people who will take care of that. The judiciary is strong. So to think here in India that Pakistan is imploding and that like Reagan made the USSR crumble, that is not going to happen. Now let me come to the other side. Pakistan has a problem by thinking that Kashmir will fall into their lap if they carry on with this policy that they have adopted post the 1,000 cuts policy that they finally thought would give them Kashmir. Look at what it has done. 4 wars. India never attacked them. We are at the moment even happy as we are. We are progressing. 5th largest economy in the world. Soon we feel we'll be the 3rd largest economy in the world. And what is happening on the other side? We must realize one thing. Post the Second World War, I would like to submit to all the panelists. The greatest of enemies have become friends. The only people who probably were not friends were the Israelis with the Islamic world in the Middle East. Even they are now becoming friends. I would say that between our 2 countries, as things stand at the moment, being a realist, it is not going to be easy to start backslapping each other and indulge in homilies because too much of hatred has been poured on both sides of the border. What now needs to be done is what we are doing in our relationship with China. We follow a 3C policy with China at the moment. We are cooperating with China on all global issues where all nations must come together to solve problems of the planet, be it ecological or otherwise, and things of that nature. We have decided to compete with China wherever there is a necessity for economic gains and otherwise. And we have also decided that we will confront China if they venture in and do salami slicing or come across the border. Similarly, we think we will be able to do that. Both the nations can follow these 3C policy for the time being till they become good friends, which is not likely to happen, I know, in my lifetime. But the fact of the matter is, it will be beneficial to people on both sides of the border. At least the people will gain. And therefore, substantial amount of money and energy that both nations are spending on this warmongering will probably be diverted for making the lives of their civilians and the citizens much better. So therefore, as a first step to get to talking to each other, India has tried it a number of times. Its hand was swapped by the Pakistani side. It is very difficult for me to understand that the Pakistanis will say that similarly, we have been spoilers. We have never been spoilers on that account. Bajpayee ji tried it. Modi ji tried it. It is the Pakistani establishment and the...
Please conclude.
Yes. Therefore, I will sum up by only saying one thing, that Pakistan, in order to, and talks we must negotiate. We are talking with the Chinese, 18 rounds have taken place, and maybe we will someday break ice. So therefore, to start resuming talks, the stand that the Indians have taken, that terrorism must stop. And that has to be the all and end all of starting negotiations. You cannot get away by saying they are non-state actors, you don't know about it, you're not supporting them. This is not understood. Therefore, once terrorism stops, it is verifiable on the ground. It may take a year, 2 years, but whatever it is, dialogue can only start with some amount of hesitancy after that. Thank you, Shazi.
Thank you very much. May I now, Professor Salim Engineer Sahab, would you like to comment? Salim Engineer Sahab.
Shah Sahab, can I make a comment?
Little later. It would be better. Some more comments.
No, I would just like to listen. Shah Sahab, thank you. I would like to listen only.
Professor Kuju Sahab, would you like to say anything? Professor Muju? Yeah, please. You're not audible. आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है. खजूरिया साहब. आईडी खजूरिया साहब, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है. तो म्यूट कर दूं ना यहाँ से.
अभी आई है?
हाँ, अब आ रही है.
जी. शाह साहब, आपका बहुत शुक्रिया. मैं इस पर ये बात कहना चाहता हूँ कि चॉइस इज वेरी क्लियर बिटवीन एग्जिस्टेंस और द नॉन एग्जिस्टेंस. In the present era of both interdependent, each nation demanding mutual unity and mutual durable peace to face the present challenges of the poverty, safe drinking water, pollution, climate change crisis, global warming, unemployment, serious diseases and dangerous viruses. Otherwise, armed conflict is not win over. We are seeing Russian and Ukrainian. There is no superpower or the small country. If there are supplies of the manufacturers of arms and supplies, nobody can defeat or the win. We will suffer, and we have suffered in 4 wars. Jammu Kashmir is the most sufferer among the India-Pak war. We have seen the bunker culture at the border areas. We are sleeping in the bunkers. We are living in the bunkers in rains, in snakes, bites, and in other conditions. We have no education prospects. We have no any intellectual schools or any centers to learn from there. We are the residents of others. I uphold in this process. I am very much clear and I uphold the politics of peace with and interdependence. The politics of peace with all the diverse nations, with all the other nations. There is a unity and struggle can achieve the new goal for the world. I uphold the politics of coexistence and tolerance. All nations can defeat the politics of confrontation, hatred, and any conflict. The other main issue is at present that there should be no war, there should be no conflict, there should be no any enemy should be treated as enemy. We are the diverse in thinking, in development, in market. We have some differences in other ways. What if the present world is total world is interdependent, and 25 countries of European have given the guidance to us. There is a borderless Europe. Why not the South Confederation can be built up? Why not the social conflict can be solved within the South Asian countries? Why not the today, if we are ready to add, we are ready to Singhai, we are ready to in other forums. Why not our forums should be activized? That was the fact. Why not that has been activized? If we are so much intelligent, if we are so much qualified, if we are so much developed, we are not developing our people. We are not developing our downtrodden people. We are not developing our poor people. It is the only way that we should leave the race of armed collection. We should leave the race of collection of drones and rifles. We should leave the race of arms. We should live together. We should talk together, and we should be interdependent to each other. The problem can be solved if there is a sense of coexistence. The problem can be solved if there is a sense of co-relating and co-living. If the world, we are not understanding this world will destroy this humankind. There is a global warming, there is climate change crisis.
Please conclude.
Crisis. This is all crisis can be resolved. That human unity should be there, humankind should be on the one platform, and all nations should be there be a friendly nations. That is the way. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Haq Saab from Karachi.
Shah Saab, thank you very much.
Farmaye.
And I have listened to all the wise people. Not much to say. Still, I would like to say that there are only two ways of settling the issues, or only two ways to make things meet each other. Either sort it out or fight it out. So I believe most of the people over here, they think that they should sort it out and not fight it out. We should not indulge in fighting. We have seen what fighting has paid us. So we should, once again, I will reiterate, I have been talking to you on this also. And now I will again suggest on this forum that we need to turn it into a think tank rather than a debating forum. Think tank which thinks and takes and compensates all the issues, particularly economic issue and humanitarian issues faced by both the countries because of bad relations. And once we sort out what benefits we can get out of it, and as India claims to be and wants to be, I wish it does. It is one of our neighbors. We had a common culture. We had a common much in commonality, that they should become an economic power. So for becoming an economic power, India has more responsibility to get the things settled, to move forward in the right direction. And as rightly put by one of our wise men, that now things are changing. Now the world is changing. Now it's not a unipolar world. No more a unipolar world. Now China has its own role. China is becoming. So while we have been, let me say, both the countries had been proxy of some superpower and not settling our issues. And for that, we fought wars which benefited the superpowers, the military arsenal suppliers, and and our people, they suffered not just economically, on the humanitarian grounds also. If you see that we face so many humanitarian problems on both sides of the border, specifically in Kashmir, which needs to be settled once for all. We can do it. It's not, if there is a will, there is a way. We can do it. Let's sort out. Let India think if it says that it is a bigger country than Pakistan, of course. It is bigger in economy, it's bigger in size, it's bigger in population, it's bigger in everything. So it should play a bigger role. Come forward, tell us that let's sort out, let's focus our all resources towards our people, poor people of Pakistan, poor people of India, poor people of Kashmir, and so on, and make this subcontinent again a very what it used to be called as a golden place where there was wealth, gold, everything, and people were living in high esteem and high quality of life, high quality of per capita income as compared to Europe and America before they were colonized. So let's get out of the colonial era. Let's get out of the colonial mindset and make this subcontinent again the best place to live. That is all I have to say. And Shah Saab, I will say, convert it into a think tank. Use some economists. Have some economists also on your side who have reach on data and everything, and they can come up with it, that what we lost, and if we give up this mindset, what this subcontinent will gain. This is all I request all of you to do it once and come up with a document, common document from both sides. I know, I'm sure, you also have very good economists. We also have very good economists. And from both sides, we can come up with a common paper which could be, which we can put forward. And in this case, Mr. Kasuri, who has worked a lot, and the Shire, Iyer, and other people, Nizamuddin Bhatt, they all can contribute to make a common consensus and a common standpoint to be presented to both the governments and the people of the subcontinent. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Dulat Saab, would you like to add anything?
Myself, hello. Sahib.
Yes, Datta Sahib, for a couple of minutes.
If I am in the panel, then I would speak. Otherwise, I won't.
Please.
It is not that I should not count myself as anybody wants to speak. If you have counted me, then only, otherwise I won't.
Please.
I am listener, no problem. I would listen.
Would you like to say, you have any comment?
No, like to say. It is not my, it is your prerogative. It is entirely your prerogative to have the panel. If I am in the panel of the speakers, then only I will speak. Otherwise, I won't.
Please offer your comments. Datta Sahib.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Rather, good evening. And it is a very nice occasion that we are discussing on the Indo-Pak relationship. The topic is improvement of Indo-Pak relationship. That we understand why the topic, it's the nomenclature of the topic says that we are not very comfortable with the relationship. The relationship between the two countries, two neighbors, and which belong to the same land once upon a time, not in a very good state. So we are talking about the improvement. So improvement is required. And if there is any improvement required at all, we feel so. And who has kept the panel and the topic there, the persons, they also know that that improvement is required. So we need to understand whether we need to have improvement. Just blaming each other. If Indian people blame Pakistanis and Pakistani people blame Indians, there may not be any iota of any step of going ahead with the improvement of the relationship. Now I shall be very just. I will not take. If I am not kept in the panel forum, I would not like to speak, but you have said, okay, I intruded. Sorry for me become intruder as a speaker. Now the thing is this. There are two parts. It is even ignoring Bangladesh would not be very proper, because Bangladesh was once upon a time part of Pakistan, and now it is an Islamic country, if not that way as Pakistan, as we Indians consider India, we consider Pakistan. But the thing is this, that is Muslim-dominated country, Pakistan is Muslim-dominated country. India is Hindu-dominated country. This is the religion-based. Why I am saying this? Because these countries were divided. That means Pakistan, East Pakistan and West Pakistan and India, they were, the land was divided on basis of religion only, no other reason. Only on religion. Now, thinking of religious basis was that some people believed that there are two races on Indian subcontinent. One is Indian, one is Hindu, and other is Islam, Muslims. So two races are there, two distinct races, religions, and two races. They are two different people. Muslims are different and Hindus are different. Staying together, Hindus and Muslims in a country was not possible. So the division was occurred. Most of the Indians, if they opposed, and the people who played in the hustings, the Congress party at the time was divided, and by some marginal vote, division of India was allowed. Even Gandhiji said, the country would be divided on my dead body. It never happened. Anyway, the thing is this, whether we, the people in the subcontinent, either Pakistani or Indian, we think, we believe, we commit that we are two nations, we are two races, we are two religions, different and cannot meet. There is no point of improvement between India and Pakistan. Either there is Kashmir or there is no Kashmir. So Kashmir, if it is the apple of discontent between India and Pakistan, it is mainly the psyche, whether we people, we could have accepted line of control, wrong back and stopped all this warfare between Pakistan and India, and or else we would take this counseling of the UNO at the time and stop this thing. But
please
we believe. Now the thing is this, how many Indians, basically I am not a Pakistani, I cannot say on behalf of Pakistan, how many Indians sincerely believe that we need to improve the relationship with Pakistan? Because for last several years, I'm not bringing politics, but it is sublime what I am saying. We are only fomenting hatred against a nation. If the nation is economic degradation condition, if the Prime Minister of the nation is going, if there is the arrest of the political leader of that country, Indians, perhaps a press, a section is showing that Indians are elated. So
please conclude. Mr. Datta, please conclude.
Unless, please listen to me. Please listen to me. Unless people desire the political leaders who are elected on the basis of the people's wish, cannot be dictated by the wish of the people. So people, it is a desire of the people. Just one sentence I'm telling you. I am in Calcutta and I am a Bengali speaking person. I feel myself an Indian. Bengali is my mother tongue. I have got very close connection with the people of Bangladesh, whom I consider Bangladeshi Muslims more nearer to me than Bihari Hindus, because of our culture, our eating, our food, our thoughts, our living, our dress, everything.
Please.
See, Bangladesh used to have two kinds of people, Orthodox and another liberal. When Orthodox would prevail, then one kind of government would come and elsewhere. In India, we have seen liberal rule. If it is Orthodox people ruling like this, you understand improvement is a myth. Thank you.
Thank you. Friends, Rahmani Saab, I see him now. Would you like to say something in a couple of minutes?
Thank you very much, Shah Saab. I'm very much I'm sorry that I'm so late to join.
Speak for 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So first, my regrets. Then I feel that the relationship between the two nations. Now, first we have to recognize that there are two countries, two nations, and once we recognize that we are two nations and we are neighbors, which as per Atal Bihari Vajpayee, we cannot change our neighbors. So if we take it in the spirit of neighborhood, then the sum of the tricky issues between the two nations, if they are kept aside, we belong to one culture, one land, one traditions, one almost the similar language, and so many similarities. And moreover, our economic ties are always very important. So many things we buy from Pakistan and we sell to Pakistan. So if cultural and economic ties are improved, the political things can be taken a back seat. And once the political part, particularly the Kashmir, and Kasuri Saab is present over here, I am delighted to say that for Pakistan foreign policy, Kashmir is no more an important issue. It's just a cosmetic issue which they keep on raising on so many international platforms. But actually, I don't think they are very much concerned for having Kashmir at their side. So whatever the political and diplomatic constraints UPP may have, keep them aside. And the cultural and people-to-people relation and the economic ties, they must get the first seat, the driving seat to improve our relationship between the two, and that is very much important. And if we two nations, and third Pakistan, as Datta Saab said, we becomes a confederation, at least an economic confederation, as Sudhendra Kulkarni ji always said. If we becomes a corridor for economy and cultural relation, then certainly it will become very easy for this region to become the Vishwa Guru. That's what we must ponder upon more seriously, and we must concentrate more seriously upon that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before I request Kasuri Saab to offer his concluding remark, is there anyone who would like to speak?
Yeah.
Shah Saab. Yeah. Softly and
yes,
bring the two countries closer.
Yeah. Shah Saab, I forgot to mention something which was repeatedly being hinted in the conversation today. I heard all the speakers, and the speakers from Pakistan mentioned US-China rivalry. They mentioned how both the countries have been proxies of superpowers. But I think facts need to be placed on the table. From Prime Minister Nehru to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India has been a non-aligned movement member, in fact, one of the key members. And we have continued to retain our strategic freedom, strategic autonomy as far as international relations go. But what I sensed from the conversation today was that, well, you know, Pakistan was a proxy of the US until very recently. With the help of the US, they also managed to become the epicenter of cross-border terrorism, and they also enjoyed all kinds of privileges and perks, especially the Pakistani army, because of what they did and the kind of partnership they had with the US. And now that that partnership is not going anywhere, in fact, they are now in the lap of China. And they are basically there. I sensed a veiled threat against Kashmir, against the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and against India, by basically saying that what Pakistan was doing with the US and using cross-border terror as a tool, as a foreign policy tool, it will continue to be a tool with China backing Pakistan if India did not come to the table. I think there is no need for such threats. India has dealt with such threats in the last 40 years and more, and we can continue to deal with such threats. The only conversation perhaps that can happen between India and Pakistan is really about the issue of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. I think that is the bone of contention today, and that's where Indian policymakers and Pakistani policymakers should come together and probably have a dialogue. But there is no other possibility of having no other conversation on anything else. I think that is the point I wanted to make.
Thank you. Nijamuddin Bhatt Saab, would you like to say anything? Yeah, please speak loudly.
One is that one of the August speakers suggested that let this forum be transformed into a think tank, then a debating table. That's a very good suggestion. When we start contesting on the basis of posturing of two governments at any point of time, it becomes a confrontation and it can never lead to a saner suggestion which would help both peoples or the governments. One is that you think over it and in future try to have it more academic, more thinking, more suggestive than clashing ideologies. One. Two, that nobody can wish away. The two countries have to live in bonhomie, get together at whatever point of time. Otherwise, the frictions, these kind of complaints that he has suffered, this kind of economy has shown a downslide, democracy is dented, or images of both countries and governments is suffering at international level in one or another way. This will continue to happen. We will continue to suffer. People will continue to suffer. People of Jammu and Kashmir will continue to suffer. People of both India and Pakistan will suffer. Role of people is becoming manifest than governments now. Governments will at a point of time, I can foresee in future, will be forced, compelled to come together. They will have to live together. There is no other opinion in that. Yes, a shift from past. Yes, some kind of moderation. Yes, some kind of sanity, and it will prevail. Third thing is that, again, I will request all my colleagues who have spoken here and have spoken in voices that support one point of view of a government or another government. That's not going to help. Let us think liberally, out of box, see through the prism of the people who are suffering. See, we have lost Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir has lost everything because of the confrontation of India and Pakistan. They had wars, we suffered. They were in United Nations, we were made the point of question, contention. They came together, we had a spell of peace. And now we are left disappointed. We don't have even a legislature. This is because of the two countries are in confrontation and there is an obsession here and there about Kashmir or about this religious complexion of the whole division. They don't forget. So if we have, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, with folded hands, we will request both the governments to think from the prism of the people itself. Our aspirations, our feelings, our sufferings will have to be represented somewhere if they come to somewhere to reconcile to each other. I wish they reconcile, and they reconcile for the people of the subcontinent in general and for the people of Jammu and Kashmir in particular.
Thank you. Daulat Saab and then Kasuri Saab. आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है।
अब आ रही है?
हाँ, अब आ रही है।
चलिए। नहीं, मैं तो I just wanted to thank you, sir, because it's always a privilege to be, there's nobody more well-meaning than you are. But I think a couple of points. One is what Datta Saab said, and I think you need to mull over this, that how many of us collected here actually believe that India and Pakistan should move forward, should have better relations? I think that's an important point to keep in mind. The next point is what Nizamuddin Saab said, and I will endorse that, though I'm not a Kashmiri, that Kashmir has suffered because of wars, because of misunderstanding, because of India and Pakistan slugging it out. Kashmir has suffered a great deal. And the third thing is that what scares me is that, whether we admit it or not, Kashmir was always a religious issue. And I fear that religious fanaticism could be growing and could be growing all around. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daulat Saab. Dr. Ahmed, you want to say something? Doctor, yeah, yes, please.
Yes, thank you. I just only want to say one thing. I agree with what Daulat Saab said, that there is a fanaticism about religion is up the rise. Whatever religion we say, but that is happening, and that will be our undoing. We need to think out of the box. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kasuri Saab. You're not audible. Surai nahi de raha hai.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Well, I'd like to start from where Mr. Daulat left. Daulat Saab made a very wise comment. He said, you should only be inviting people who are really interested in making peace between Pakistan and India. Otherwise, I'll give you a list of 10 people who can make all sorts of arguments, at the end of which we'll be worse off rather than better. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah.
So the first requirement, I taught you this was for India-Pakistan peace. We had a participant saying there is no need to talk. Well, if there's no need to talk, why did you invite us here? Don't you know our views? We have fought 4 wars. Mr. Dullat knows that, and I know that. And there have been 10 occasions on which we could have gone to war. Mr. Dullat and I both realize that it serves our national interest. We are not doing each other a favor. So my suggestion is that from Pakistani side, you should keep in mind the sort of people you're calling from India and call the same type of people from Pakistan, so they can respond tit for tat. I am not constitutionally made up to respond in the same way. So that's the first thing. Number 2, next time call another Hindu Kashmiri. We were talking of a Hindu Kashmiri lady. Call, her name is Anuradha Basin. Forget about Muslims. You heard a Muslim here with folded hands said, please spare us, do something. So my thing, please, you should only ask people interested in Pakistan-India peace. Those who are interested in cursing each other, in running each other down, actually is not going to do a favor to this forum. And I know how you have worked hard in the past. So please be mindful of that. People can disagree. Mr. Dullat and I disagree, but not really. Because he said, and I understand the wisdom of his remarks, he says that Kasuri Saab wo 4 point aage to chale, bilkul theek kar rahe. He's absolutely right. You can't remain frozen in time. It just provides a framework. But no government is bound to follow that in its entirety. But all it does is encapsulate wisdom. There are a few steps. He and I are meeting in Ottawa, in Bangkok, and we talk. There we talk. We disagree, but we talk. We don't shout. We don't curse. So the whole idea of this panel is not to curse and shout, because then you should have people who will respond in the same manner. Don't we all know history? It's not as simplified as we were made to believe by one participant. So now I'd like to suggest something in the spirit of what you had asked us to talk about, which is Pakistan-India peace. Yes, we have problems. Yes, if you can turn it into a think tank, it'll be a good thing, but it's easier said than done. I know I am myself running a think tank, and one of the purposes is to improve relations with India. And the subject of my next book will be connectivity, which will bring India and Pakistan closer. Will bring us closer by recognizing our problems, by showing empathy, by putting ourselves in the other person's position, not by cursing each other. So what I'm going to say is concrete suggestions, ceasefire. Luckily, there was a ceasefire along the line of control. Very good thing. We should continue with that, because the biggest sufferers are Kashmiris. When there's fighting, Kashmiris on both sides are killed. Number 2, hold SAARC conference. I'm just going to concrete it. If you can't face each other, after all, SCO meeting was held on Zoom. Why do I say that? Unless you talk, unless there's a dialogue, things will become worse. I have, in my opinion, and I've said it in my book, that the situation between Pakistan and India is such that things will never remain on an even keel. They will either go up or they will go down. The only way to keep it on an even keel so that you can hope that the dialogue at some stage will lead to something is to continue to talk. So that's very essential. And SAARC is one means of doing it. And it's ironic that we meet in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, India and Pakistan. It's even more ironic that our militaries cooperate in the SCO, and they took part in joint exercises. Mr. Dullat will later on tell you. They meet there. They have joint military exercises with India and Pakistan, but in a forum where China and Russia are the main players. Why not SAARC? India is the largest country. It's in India's own interest, and I think it serves Pakistan's interests. I tried very hard for SAARC summit in 2004 and the summit declaration. So the next thing is, if we cannot meet, let's have a Zoom conference. Then on the 4 points, yes, you don't have to start from the word go, as I said initially. There are other areas, for example, in which I don't think any Kashmiri, at least, who speaks for the people of Kashmir will say that the Kashmiris on the two sides should not trade with each other. They should not meet with each other. They should not have greater social interaction. Those things, which is also a part of 4 point, you can start with that. High commissioners, we must have normal diplomatic relations. I think we should upgrade. It's high time. We should start trading with each other, because trading itself creates new links, stronger bonds, and that's what I'm saying, trade and connectivity. I've always been a very strong believer that Pakistan's best interest lies in becoming a linkage country between India, Afghanistan, Iran, Central Asia, and China. That is where our interests are served. That's what some of your great thinkers have always wanted. So there are areas of convergence. When we meet in a setting that you want, those are the things we should be talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Friends,
Shahsab,
let's end the discussion on this note. Friends, thank you very much.
Fair. You didn't give me a chance to...
Well, let's conclude the discussion. Thank you very much. After it was a meaningful discussion. The disagreements were bound to happen. When more people meet, we are expected to have differences. If there were no differences in the approach between Indians and Pakistanis, then things would have been different. We would have proper, normal diplomatic relations, more trade, more visits, more visas. But let's all attempt to reach that stage where both Indians and Pakistanis can live comfortably and live as good neighbors. Thank you very much once again for your participation. Hopefully we will meet again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Often.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's see.
Thank you.
कुछ कह रहे हो?
नहीं, well, आप